Hello everyone, can we all hear me?
Look, I can hear you, sir.
All right, good evening everyone and welcome to class. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining in. You're welcome to today's session. This is officially the first class for the patent drafting class under the JIIPCC Mentorship and Internship program. I want to especially thank you all for joining on time. We'll be starting off right away so that we can get into the business of today. Um, All right, so my name is Dennis Williams, and I will be moderating today's session. And just to give us a glance of what we are going to be doing in today's class, we are going to be having presentations from the mentors, and then we would have presentations for the mentees also. We'll take feedback from the mentors based off of the presentations that were made by the mentees, and then we'll have a question and answer segments, and after that, we'll call it a wrap to class. So we don't intend for the class to be too long. So firstly, before we go into the business of today, all right, just give me a moment. I just want to clarify something. All right, I'll be with you in a minute. Please, can you just kindly give me a moment? All right, sorry about that. I had to just confirm something quickly. So sorry for the slight silence. So to not waste our time, I would like for us to go ahead and start with reading mentors profile. That's the people we expect to be helping us run through this particular class and be running us through what we need to know about patent drafting. All right, so we have a little issue with the topic. Our topic for today is supposed to be introduction into patent drafting, what beginners must know. Right. So our first mentor for today is going to be Miss Shukurat Amosa Shukurat Modipeola. Miss Shukurat is a seasoned intellectual property consultant, analyst, and educator with public sector experience. She holds a master's degree in intellectual property from the prestigious African University Zimbabwe in collaboration with WIPO, and that is the World Intellectual Property Organization, and the Japan government. Shukurat is an alumni of the World Intellectual Property Organization, a member of the WIPO International Network for IP Education, as well as a training facilitator at the Next Innovation Hub. She was a member of the planning committee for the WIPO National IPSC Competition 2023 and resource person at the National Intellectual Property Conference, that's the NIPC. Shukrat is an accredited agent at the Intellectual Property Office in Nigeria and the pioneer of the Intangible Nuggets, an educational platform which is responsible for fostering, among other things, intellectual property advocacy, awareness, and education. So Ms. Shukurat would be joining us shortly, right, to help give us or to help us run through today's topic and what we will be doing today in class. Our second mentor for today that we expect to be in session is Mr. Rakesh Sharma. Mr. Rakesh is having a thorough and multifaceted career spanning nearly a decade in patent analytics, drafting, and prosecution for US and EP jurisdiction. He worked very closely with various engineering teams and supported their portfolios from idea incubation to innovation management. Mr. Rakesh has excellent understanding of patent law, claims interpretation, and drafting skills. As a seasoned professional, he is readily engaged with various end-to-end IP services at different levels and provides intelligent IP solutions. He emphasizes more on promoting innovation for a better world. He loves drafting patent claims, keeping all the infringement perspectives in mind. Furthermore, he has a strong bent of mind towards IP automation and has a sound knowledge of various IP tools and techniques that can be used for either improving quality of IP or increasing the overall productivity. He is also an excellent mentor and possesses all the leadership qualities required for a successful IP profession. So, Mr. Rakesh, I can see is already on the call with us. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. We are happy
Thank
to have you in session.
thank
So yeah. So just to kick start what we'll be doing today, we'll be taking presentations firstly from Mr. Rakesh, and then we will have also Miss Amusa just give us a little talk on, also a talk on what she has for us today before we take presentations from mentees. So mentees, please do well to prepare for your presentation. Kindly get ready your slides and try as much as possible to stick within the time frame that will be allotted to you for presentation, which is 10 minutes. Thank you. So we'll be handing over the floor, or I will be handing over the floor to Mr. Rakesh. You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today.
thank you, sir, for this wonderful introduction. So now I'm sharing my screen and quickly give you the overview. And I would want everyone to feel free to ask me questions to make it more interactive rather than it is a monologue. So let me know once my screen is up.
Your screen is up, Mr. Rakesh.
Okay. So our today's session is on like our overall objective is patent drafting. So why we are going for patents? So this is the overall training sessions which I have divided into three sections. So today we are going to discuss the introductions to patents, why these are necessary and what are the patentability criteria. So I will be discussing more about the patentability criteria of the patents. So before jumping to that, you must have to know the end outcome of power of filing a patent. So patent are the exclusive rights which government will provide you. So everybody might have used or some time in their life that either the soda can or other can where we are having that ring pull technology to open it. Has everybody seen this, which is shown in these pictures 1, 2, and 3? Everybody has seen it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Um, yes, sir, we have.
so this was invented by somebody. It's it was patented under the patent number of this in 1963. And overall, like nowadays, we used to find it very common technology, but once it was invented, the sales of the company has increased by 233% in an year. And the company was able to made over 500 millions in annual revenues because of only this one patented technology. So this is the exclusive rights only you will get to establish your dominance in the market based on your innovation. So this is the power of getting a patent. And every day you are surrounded by so many things which we do not observe, but actually these are patented. But now, how to get it patented? So this will be the question. Either you should go for a patent or you should simply keep on using or harvesting your invention without getting it patented. So this is one thing which I always try to address and try to educate everyone. What will happen if you decide not to patent? So this is exactly similar to a property where you are residing, but you are not getting the documents done that you are the owner of that property. So maybe someday somebody might else come and they will say that you are just living there, but they are the actual owner. So what will happen? They will try to give you the notification of vacating that property because they are the actual owner. So it's always better to protect your invention in the same way you are protecting your property, because this is intellectual property, and the other property I'm talking about is the tangible property, be it your house, be it your car, be it your any other aspect. Any questions? Anyone? Okay, so moving to the next one. So patents is a social contract. It's between you and the government. So what you will do, you will be disclosing the invention in a well documented manner to the public through government, and government will give you an exclusive right. What does exclusive means? To exclude others. This is having a negative definition, to exclude others, because if you have been given some rights, considering the same example here, to produce similar soda can or beer can that can be opened by this ring pull technology, so those rights are belongs to you only for next 20 years from the date you are getting a patent. So nobody else is entitled to use the same technology. First of all, you can stop them. Otherwise, if somebody is still using it, they must have to pay you the royalty amount. Just like at your property, if somebody is living, they are paying you rent on a monthly basis. It is exactly similar to the same. So because of that, these are the fundamental aspects of the or benefits of getting a patent. So when will you get a patent? It should be, there are some criteria defined by every government in every country, but more or less these are same. What can or cannot be patented. So there is a list shared by every country based on their own country laws, that this can be patented or this cannot be patented. So it's always better for you to understand, okay, these are the ideas. Suppose I would always want to start with what cannot be done, because if you are aware about something that cannot be done, then lot of energy and time and effort can be saved to understand, okay, this cannot be patented. So here it's like business methods, rules of games, or methods of treatments, diagnostics, and surgery of the humans or animal bodies. These are few of the examples which are not patentably granted, because these are some things which are not considered under the power of patents. For anything, like you have any idea which you feel is new, there are only three criterias. Let me write for your reference here. There are only three criteria for getting a patent, but that criteria is very much important to understand. The first one is new. Some people call it novel also. Sorry. The second one is inventive, or some call it non obvious. And the third one is industrial applicability. So these are the three criterias for getting a patent. Like if any patent, any idea which is fulfilling these three criterias in any country, you are entitled to get a patent. Either it should be new or novel, it should be inventive, or it should be industrial applicable. Like any kind of industrial practical application it should have. Anyone has any questions around these three? Please feel free to ask. Any questions? Anyone?
Yes, sir. There's a question.
Please.
Okay, good day, sir. Please, I would like you to expound on industrial applicability for the criteria for granting patent.
For the third point you are saying?
Sorry, sir, I did not get you.
So your question is on point number 3.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So industrial applicability refers to something that should be of some kind of use or some kind of like consumer related benefits. Suppose you have created a mobile phone, so that is having industrial applicability. There are consumers which are using those phone for enhanced connectivity. Even the mobile laptop, touchscreen, tablets, these all are having industrial applicabilities. But there are few examples which are which doesn't have any kind of industrial applicabilities, or these are against the social norms, so these should not be fall under this. Or sometimes you might have seen many examples where somebody has created something, but they are not able to showcase that where it can be used. So if you are not able to showcase the use of your idea, then you are not able to justify the criteria number 3.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, almost all the things, excluding very few, are having industrial applicabilities. But there are still many examples. Like if you search it on Google, what are the examples where inventions does not have or does not possess industrial applicability, you will get an idea. Otherwise, like you have invented some kind of new chair, new shoes, or new mobile phone, everything is having applicability like industrial or daily use, so that it can be produced in industry or it can be used by the consumers. Any other questions? Anyone? Feel free to ask. So, can I ask what is the difference between point number 1 and 2? Anyone?
I think I have an idea about that.
Feel free to tell, please.
Okay, so when something is new, when you're applying for a patent, for you to be granted a patent, new meaning that it must not have been seen anywhere in the world, not even
Exactly.
in a picture or maybe someone using it in the past. It must be
Yes,
very new and non-obvious and inventive. It must be something that when people see it, they don't exactly know how they would apply it immediately. It must be very non-obvious. They must like maybe read the manual or something before they can know how to apply it. Yes.
exactly. Thank you for this wonderful explanation. So, I am giving you two examples here. Sorry. So out of these two examples I have highlighted for your reference, can you tell me which one is obvious and which one is non-obvious out of these two examples, yellow highlighted for your reference? So 1 plus 1 equals to 2. We can call it obvious or non-obvious.
We can call it obvious.
Okay. And what about this one?
Non-obvious.
So is it possible mathematically? So mathematically it is not possible, but in terms of patent, if you will remember this thing, you will always be winning every stage of the patent, especially at the patentability, because 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 means you are combining two known things. If I replace it with like known fact and again with some already known fact and outcome is still known, then we call it a obvious solution that is not patentable. But if something we are combining was known, other was also known, but the way we are adding, suppose this is something, the way we are adding it, multiplying it or processing it makes it different, then it is solution is unknown. That was not predicted earlier by anyone. And because of your way of processing it, so that makes it unique. Got it? So your novelty or inventive step lies at this red highlighted portion. That how you are doing it, processing it, making it, manufacturing it. So this is how a patentability works. So ma'am, you have highlighted a very good point also. It should not be disclosed in any of the picture. So not only in picture, any of your ideas should not be disclosed anywhere, be it Google patents, be it European patents, be it your country journal, newspaper, cartoon, comics, animated movies, anywhere that is publicly available. If it is disclosed anywhere, your idea, your patent application can get rejected because of that earlier disclosure. And there are plenty of examples where patent ideas got rejected because of the animation shown in the movies as well as the uh, cartoon characters also. Any questions? Any questions anybody has on these 3 points?
I don't think anyone has any, sir.
Okay. So this is the patentability criteria which I am showcasing you all. And for this, people use different software, different tools. Generally, if you have any of your idea, you can go to the Google and you can use the Google patents for doing it. Let me just showcase it quickly. Uh, Wait. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, so I'm just showcasing you one good example about the Google patents. So this is a database. If you want to search here, you can search. Can anyone give me any example? Suppose I want to check for a cell phone with finger sensor on and camera and dual SIM. So is it fine? Everyone is aware about the cell phones with finger sensor, camera and cell phone or dual SIM? Any other feature if somebody want me to add here? So how many results you are getting here? More than 100,000. Is it visible to everyone? Here it is.
Yes, we can see it.
So, so here you can refine your search to get the number of results in your control. Got it? If you will write it like cell phone in quotes, I'm giving you few examples and I would be happy to share uh, what to say, the complete instruction set with you in a separate email. That is finger sensor, and what I'm just removing the extra words, that those are the fillers we used to say. Now you will see how the result count will vary. It's showing no results at all. So if I am removing from here, so how many results are there? Only how many are there? Can anyone read this? I had
Um,
highlighted.
About
five.
75 results.
Yes, so 75 are more related ones to your idea. And to that also, if you want to exclude something like you are having not only single camera but dual camera, so you can have that feature also to check exactly how many are there. So there are how many results are there?
Two results.
Two results. So out of 100,000, then 75, then two. So based on keep on changing the way you are searching here, the number of results will quickly give you an idea, and this is what we call the patentability search. And here in the first column, these are the components, and in the second one, it is providing you AI based analysis where camera is defined in this manner in this document. So you can open it in the second tab and you can get to know what all things are there if you want to read it in detail to understand. Otherwise, there are multiple other options. Suppose if I am not using quotes and you are not perfect, here it is showing display advanced search options. You can simply click on there. It will showcase you text classification, chemistry, major numbers. So in text also, it will always keep on showcasing you. Wait a moment. I'm not able to hide the ribbon of Zoom meeting. Okay. So from here, you can simply select title or abstract itself. Then also number of results will change in whatever condition you want to specify. Suppose here, if I'm writing only cell phone and I want to search in title itself, then if I'm writing only cell phone, so here it will showcase me the type of results here only. Got my point? If I'm suppose deleting the earlier one and writing something only in the title, that is cell phone, the in only title, and if I write it in abstract only, the it will change. So there is complete I will say a instruction guide to use Google Patents. So I will be happy to share it with you where you can check anytime all the patents. And here, uh, so there is a very good example of prior art also because you can see it here. Anything that is available, this is not only the patents, but anything that is publicly available can be used as a prior art. For example, this is what I'm showcasing you was used as a prior art for rejecting one of the patent application. I'm not able to open it here, but I will be happy to share the link of this. Yeah, here it is. You can check the Donald Duck as a prior art case. So somebody has filed a patent. Are you able to see this figure number one? Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
it
it
is.
is visible.
Okay. So the idea behind this patent was to get the sinking the ships which has been already sank to the bottom of the ocean to get them on the surface by filling them with the balls, that the floating balls which are having high buoyancy. Got it? If you will read this, buoyant bodies one are inserted into buoyant bodies are nothing but the balls actually, that the balls filled with air inserted into a sunken vessel through a tube number 3. It will get filled with all the buoyant bodies so that this ship will start floating and automatically come to the surface. So this was the idea, and we all will think that this is a very brilliant idea. But in one of the episode in 1949 in Donald Duck story, they have showcased and demonstrated the similar thing, and because of this episode only, this patent was rejected because Donald Duck story was acted as a prior art. And there are multiple other examples where Apple iPad design patents got rejected because of the Star Wars movies, where they have showcased similar gadgets having similar designs itself. So that's all from my side related to patentability. So be it is your idea or somebody's idea, always be open in asking questions around these three parameters, whether it is inventive, whether it is novel or non-obvious, and applicability. And whenever you are searching for it, also apply a broader approach to check everything from every perspective. And if you are satisfied with these three criteria of patentability, then only you should proceed with filing a patent for it. How will you draft the patent application? We will discuss in the next sessions. But your idea should be solid actually. If it is weak, then lot of time, effort, and energy get wasted, because whatever you are not doing as a due diligence, whenever you will file and patent office will reject it, your hard earned money, time, and effort get wasted if they are rejecting it, and you face a lot of difficulty to get a grant. So this is my honest opinion for you all. So I am taking a pause here, and would want you to ask questions if you have any.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Rakesh, for a very wonderful presentation from you. We really appreciate you, everything you shared in this very short time, and your presentation. It was very detailed and very clear. So next we'll be having Miss Amusa Shukurat. I can see she's also on the call, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining. We are happy to have you in a new session. All right, Sma, please, we would just like for you to also give us a quick introduction into what you have for us today. And then after that, we'll take mentees presentations, feedback from mentors, and then we'll take questions.
Hi, Dennis. Thank you for the introduction. Hi, Rakesh. I enjoyed your presentation as always. Thank you. So let me share my
Thank
slide. Kindly confirm when you can see my presentation.
It is up.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. Today we'll be looking at patent drafting. But before we get to patent drafting, we need to understand what exactly patent is, which Mr. Rakesh has taken us through. But before then, we also need to understand intellectual property, because like we know, patent is a kind of intellectual property, right? So how do we jump from intellectual property to patent? So I wouldn't know if any of the participants here have attended the JIIPCC class on intellectual property. Did they, Dennis? Or is this their first class?
No, this is their first class. They have
This
not.
is their first class. Okay. So let's start from intellectual property, then we'll dive into patents briefly. For today's presentation, like I said, we won't be doing too much. We are just looking at introduction to IP, then what is patent, what can be patentable, and the next class we can look at patent search and all of that. So definition of patent, patentable subject matter, what can be patented, patentability, patent search, type of search databases, and so on and so forth. So as an introduction, majority might agree with me that if you decide to buy a book, an author's book, can you resell that book and claim that you are the author? It's not possible, right? When you buy a book, what you are buying is the right to read that book, not the right to photocopy the book and sell, not the right to reproduce the book to sell to your friends and family. Same thing if you buy a pen. You can't say because of you bought a pen, the owner or the inventor of that pen has transferred the right to you. It's not possible. So we need to understand that whenever we buy anything or whenever we purchase anything that is protected as an intellectual property, a part of what we pay for that particular item goes to the inventor or the author or the person that created that particular intellectual property. And this is why IP is there to do what? To support creators, support inventors, support creative, and also encourage them to want to do more. And whenever you do these things, you use these things without their permission, then there are certain consequences that are attached to it. Now, let's look at the scope of intellectual property. Intellectual property, simply put, is the product of human mind that the law protects from unauthorized use by third parties. So let me bring it to the house. Imagine you've been writing, maybe you are a storyteller or you are a script writer, and you've been trying to develop a particular script for, let's say, maybe years, right? And fortunately for you, you were able to, at the end of the day, develop that script maybe after 6 months or after 12 months. And just when you were about to, pitch your script idea to maybe a director or a filmmaker, then the director takes your idea and tells you, oh, it's not standard enough, we won't be using it. And they say, okay, and then ends there. But along the line, maybe some months later, you realize that the director actually made that script into a movie. How will you feel about that without your permission? Anybody? This a learning class. How will you feel about the director making your script as a movie after they told you that it's not going to pass without your permission? How would you feel?
Um,
So personally, for me, I will feel very bad, and then I also feel cheated because my invention has been used for profit, which I do not benefit from. So definitely, I'll feel cheated.
Okay, I think Kristen is the only one that is going to feel cheated. It's like the rest of us, we are going to be happy that the director is promoting us, right? Is that it? Do you think
No,
it's a do
no,
you think it's a
ma'am,
thing
we
of
feel cheated as well.
Okay, so it's not a thing of joy that because when you bring it down to Nigerian mentality or let's say online mentality, people will say, instead of you to be happy that use your script as movie, you are trying to complain. But it's not a matter of complain or not. It's a matter of the hard work, the time, the labor, the money, the stress you've put into um putting up that script, and somebody is more like stealing it from you and they are airing it, and at the end of the day, whatever they make from that movie goes to the director or the filmmaker, and nothing comes to you, not even a credit, right? So this is why intellectual property is there. And what it does is that it protects unauthorized use of your intellectual property by third party. Now, how does intellectual property protect unauthorized use by third party of your intellectual property? We are going to get there. But while IP is doing that, it also does what? It provides incentive. It promotes innovation. It rewards creativity and human endeavor. It serves as a catalyst for economic development and cultural well-being. It also helps to strike a balance between the interests of innovators and public interest, and it spurs economic growth and enhance the quality of life. For example, let's provide incentive. If in a case whereby, as the script writer, you were able to sell that movie script to a director, and the director gives you a very good amount of money and even promises you royalty, that whenever that movie airs, a particular amount of that movie comes to you as the creative or as the script writer, you'll be motivated to want to write more stories, right? That's providing incentive. Now it promotes innovation. Because of you've been able to get incentive, you'll be able to think far and wide and say, okay, what next can I do? How else can I do this? What's the better way I can do this? And that way you might be innovating in one way or the other. It also rewards creativity and human endeavor. This is kind of linked to incentive, because by getting incentive, it's rewarding your creativity for you to be able to come up with that particular thing. It also serves as catalyst for economic development. Everybody in the economy are able to use their IP rights to make money, and that way everybody is living well and we are all fine. Nobody is stealing anybody's IP. Then it also strike a balance between the interest of you, who is the innovator or the author, and the public interest. And in this case, that's why we have things like fair use, we have things like compulsory licensing, we have the TRIPS agreement, and so on and so forth. And so here we'll look at IP now. When you say intellectual property, this is two different words: intellect plus property. I like to say intellectual property is the property of your intellect. Intellect, a property that belongs to you. Just like Rakesh mentioned, that we have other properties like tangible properties. Intellectual property, on the other hand, is an intangible property. You can't touch it, you can't feel it, but it is always there. It has its own value. So it is derived from two words, the intellect and your property. So intellectual property is the property of your intellect, that thing that you own because of what you have in your intellect, because of that idea that you've been able to express, then that gives you your intellectual property. Now, how then do you protect intellectual property? Before we look at protection of IP, let's look at what are the types of intellectual property. Intellectual property is broadly divided into two. We have the industrial property and we have copyright and related rights. Now, under industrial property, we have patent, trademark, trade secret, industrial design. These are the basic type of IP that people talk about most times. Then we also have geographical indication, traditional knowledge, plant variety, biogenetics, and so on and so forth. These other aspects are kind of the advanced part of IP that it's really talked about. And on the other hand, we have copyrights and related rights. Now, copyright and related rights are not characterized under industrial property because we have different laws governing all these types of IP rights. And when it comes to industrial property, we look at the Paris Convention. The Paris Convention is that convention that talks about everything that is highlighted under industrial property. But when you look at copyright and related rights, you talk about the Berne Convention. But the Berne Convention will never mention anything about industrial property. So this is where it comes. And that is the more reason why in Nigeria, if we have more Nigerians here, you see that we have the trademark, the patent, and the industrial design registry together in one place. And we have copyright and related rights separate because they are different bodies, right? So these are just the breakdown of intellectual property. Now, looking at the types of IP, this is where we are going to pick patent as a type of IP and discuss further on patents. What exactly is patent? Okay, this is an example that shows you the aspect of IP. So yeah, I'm using a ballpoint pen. Now, a patent will tell you how this ballpoint pen works. That's the technicality. A trademark will tell you the name of the brand of this ballpoint pen. A trade secret will tell you secret information that you don't want to disclose to people, such as where do you source your material from, who are your competitors, who are your consumers, who exactly buys from you. Those are trade secrets. Industrial design basically is how beautiful does this pen look? Is there a light on? Is there a bulb on the bottom? Or does the pen shines whenever you are writing? That's simply aesthetics. And copyright to protect the literary and artistic work. For example, the diagrams, the sketch of the pen, maybe while advertising, and so on and so forth. So these are the elements of intellectual property. But for today, we'll be looking specifically at patent, which is how it works, the technical aspects. So what does patent do, or what is exactly is a patent? Just like Rakesh said, patent is an exclusive right granted for an invention. Now, this invention, it could be a product, it could be a process, it could be an equipment that does what? That provides a new way of doing something, or that solves a new technical solution to a problem. So when you talk about patents, you have to highlight things such as exclusive right. It's giving you an exclusive right such that nobody else has the right to do or use whatever it is you've done. Now, what exactly can patent protect? Product, processes, equipment, chemical compounds, and so on and so forth. But your invention has to do something. It has to provide a new way of doing something or solves a technical solution to a problem. If your patent is not solving a solution, then you are just, let me say, investing in the wrong thing. Because what's the essence of getting a patent, and at the end of the day it's not bringing any money for you? You don't want your patent to be a liability, right? You want it to be an asset. So for it to be an asset, it means you must be solving a problem, and that problem you are able to monetize it. And just like Rakesh said, he mentioned that patent is like a trade by barter between you and the government. You tell the government and say, oh, government, I have a proposal. There's this invention I'm working on, and this invention is going to solve a particular problem. For example, there was a time the Lagos government said banned styrofoam. This styrofoam, those plastic that we use to package food or buy food outside, right? So let's say Dennis, for example, decide and say, okay, since Lagos State government has banned styrofoam, what alternative do we have that we can actually use to buy food and it is decomposable? Because the styrofoam itself wasn't decomposable, it's not biodegradable, and so it litters everywhere. If Dennis now decide and say, oh, I have a solution to this problem, then he decide and say, okay, let me write down the solution I have, and I want to patent this solution because number one, it is an invention, it is my invention. This invention to him is new, is industrially applicable, and is inventive. Just like Rakesh has said, that for patent you have three criteria. It has to be new. This invention Dennis is coming up with is new in the sense that it's a packaging material, is degradable, is biodegradable. It's not going to litter the floor and give you the same issues we had with styrofoam. So in that case, let's assume that is new. It's industrially applicable. It's something that we can mass produce. People can use it all over again. It's not just something that only one person will use. And it is non-obvious. If you put A and B together, you can arrive at any solution. Then that's a good thing. It passes for patentability. Then you now decide to write down everything about this patent and say, okay, now government, I have something. Oh, brother government, I have something I want to protect. And the government says, okay, this is fine. In return for what you want to give us, we are going to give you 20 years protection period for that patent. On one condition, you have to disclose everything about that patent to us. It means you are giving the government all the documents about how that invention works. And in return, the government is giving you what? 20 years protection period to protect that invention, such that within that 20 years, you are the only one that have the right to use that invention. But after 20 years, what happens? You no longer have right to the invention. Remember when we're talking about the importance of intellectual property, we said that what it promotes innovation, right? So when 20 years has expired and your invention is now in the public domain, that is anybody can use it, it means somebody else, maybe like Kristen, can decide to pick that invention up and say, oh, this thing Dennis did is very nice, but what else can I do to improve this invention? And Christian picks it up, he looks at it, he had something new again, or is providing another solution. He also fights for a patent, get 20 years protection period. Once it expires, it goes to the public domain. Muna picks it, she looks at it, she had to it, she patent her own, it goes to the public domain. I pick it, I look at it, I had it, and all these things have the criteria of patentability. What we are doing is what? We are promoting innovation. Because if we don't have access to Dennis' invention after it has expired, then how are we going to build on it? So this is how patent works, okay? Now let's look at this. We said patent provide incentive. That's what I just explained to individuals by recognizing creativity and protecting their invention for a period of 20 years, such that no one can make, use, distribute, sell, or import the invention without the patent owner's consent. And a very good example is Big Biro. I don't know how many of us know the story of Big Biro. Now, what right do you have as a patent holder? A patent holder has the right to, number one, decide who may or may not use the patented invention. Remember, we said that patent is an exclusive right. So the moment you've been granted a patent, it means you have exclusive rights and you can decide who you want to give access to use your invention or not. You also have the right to give permission to, or to license, or in fact to sell the patent right outrightly to somebody else who will now become the new owner. Those are the rights you have as a patent holder. However, you might come across something being called negative rights. Some scholars believe that patent is a negative right because we like to say that there is nothing new under the sun. So in most instances, the patent right doesn't give you the right to work the invention. It gives you the right to stop others from using the invention without your permission. I'm sure maybe in the next class, I and Rakesh should talk more about this. So then what happens when a patent expires? I've broken that down already in my explanation. I said that once a patent expires, your protection ends and the invention enters the public domain. This means that the owner of the invention does no longer hold exclusive rights to that invention, and as such, anybody can use it and even commercialize it without the permission of the patent holder. Do we have any question on the first aspect before we look at patentable subject matter? Any question?
I have a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, my question is with respect to the expiration of patent rights. According to
Okay.
the lecture, it was said that after 20 years,
Yes.
patent rights will expire, then it goes to the public domain. So I want
Yes.
to confirm if is it possible to renew that right for another period of 20 years?
Okay. So to answer your question, when it comes to patent rights, once your right expires, it expires. The only thing you can do is you can pick up that invention, look at it, rework on it, add one or two things, file another patent, and get another 20 years protection period. Do you get it? But while your patent is still in force, while it is still in the lifespan of protection, there's something called maintenance fee. You have to pay a maintenance fee every year to maintain your patent. That's not renewal, it's a maintenance fee. But the moment your 20 years clocks 20 years, it goes to the public domain. You can't do anything about it. You can only rework on it, upgrade it, and file another patent application. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. That answers the
Okay.
question.
All right. So I'll give us an example. Big Biro. How many of us know Big Biro? Do we know Big Biro?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma.
So Big Biro is actually the name of the brand. The pen itself is called a ballpoint pen. If you remember back then when our parents used to write and send letters, what they use is ink and feather, right? They dip the feather into the ink and use the ink to write. Now, there's a problem with that process. Can anybody tell me one problem? With dipping ink in feather to write, there's a particular problem. What's that problem? Anybody? What's the limitation of the reasoning of dipping feather in ink, probably to write letters or just to scribble something? What's the limitation?
Okay, ma, you'd have to continuously do it. Once the ink on the feather is done, you'd dip it back inside the ink and then continue dipping until you're done writing, ma.
Okay, any other person? Any other limitation?
Okay. Okay, I think maybe it doesn't last for a very long time. Your write-up won't last for a very long time.
Okay,
It will
any
fade.
other person?
I think the ink has the
Uh,
ability to spread into the whatever you're using to write.
Okay, those are good trials. Now, what do you think about how long do you need to wait for the ink to dry before you can fold the paper? Right? Because if you try to fold the paper immediately after writing, then it's going to smell. What you're writing is not going to be legible. Everything is going to smear together. Another issue is you can't, or it's not easy traveling with ink and feather, it's likely going to, maybe the ink is likely going to pour while on your way, or it's not very nice. So, and like I said, that patent must solve a problem. Now we've identified the problem of using of dipping feather in ink. And we've said the problem is the writing might smear, the ink might pour while traveling, it might not be legible enough, you have to wait for it to dry. Those are the limitations. And someone said, okay, what can we do to make sure that we are able to probably solve this problem? And so many scientists or inventors decided, and they've tried to come up with ballpoint pen. But the ballpoint pen, as at that time, wasn't perfect enough. And so these guys, these brothers, Bic and Byron, decided to put a final touch to ballpoint pen, and they came up with what we are using today, which is a ballpoint pen. Right now, what solution is their invention providing? Remember, I said for patent, there has to be a problem your invention is solving. Now we've identified the problem that this invention was trying to solve, which is smearing, legibility, waiting to dry. Now the question is, what solution does this invention solve? How have they tried to work on the invention such that, number one, it is new, number two, it is industrially applicable, and number three, it is non-obvious? The first thing they try to do is they find a way. It's still ink, it's still the same ink we're talking about, but they find a way to put the ink in a vessel such that it's just within that space, right? And they put something like a pen mouth such that the ink flows through the pen mouth and you can use that mouth to write. Now, they didn't stop there. They also found a case whereby you can put in that ink that is in the vessel inside the case, and there's also a kind of a stopper at the end, so that when you are writing, the ink would smell directly. If at all it's going to smell, it's going to smell within that casing, right? And there's also a cover right in front of the ballpoint pen. So that's their invention. If you look at it compared to what we have before, it is new. If you look at the inventive step, there's likely an inventive step. And if you look at industrial applicability, it is industrially applicable. We can mass produce it. So many people can use it. Now, that invention, looking at the criteria of patentability, has it passed the 3 steps of patentability: novelty, industrial applicability, and inventiveness? Did it pass?
Yes, it did.
Yes, it does. So the next thing you want to do now is try to file a patent application. Now, going to file a patent application, you have to write everything down about that invention. Then you go to the government, give the government the paper, the application, and in return, they give you 20 years, right? So during that 20 years, it is your responsibility as the inventor to find a way to monetize or commercialize your invention such that you are able to make money back, so as to encourage yourself for all the stress, the money, the labor you've put into working on that invention. Now, along the line, why big patent was still running, we had Eleganza. Anybody? Do you know Eleganza Biro? Anybody here? Eleganza? Do you use Eleganza? I think we have Gen Zs on this call. Do we have anybody here that used Eleganza Biro? Because it's no longer out. It's
Yes,
no longer selling.
I used when I was in the secondary school. I
Okay,
remember.
good. So along the line, why big patent was still running, we had Eleganza, right? Eleganza was also a ballpoint pen. Now their own trademark name was Eleganza. And we noticed that later on, we didn't see Eleganza. The only difference between Eleganza and Bic then was that Eleganza's ink was thicker than Bic, right? Temitayo, can you confirm that?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I remember. That's why I like it.
Okay, that's good. So Eleganza's ink was thicker than Bic's ink, but because of, we can't say thicker is a novelty or
Yes.
is inventiveness, right? So Bic reached out to Eleganza and told them to stop infringing on their patent right, because as at then they already filed the patent and they had patent running. So they told Eleganza that if they wanted to continue using their patents, they had to pay for license. But Eleganza was not ready to pay for license. And before we knew it, we noticed that Eleganza was no longer in the market, right? And after 20 years, what happened? Lucky Cora, Cora Lucky, Lucky Cora, Cora Lucky, right? It is still the same big patent. But after 20 years, when big patent expired and got to the public domain, then different companies picked up that invention and started commercializing it because it has expired. At that point, big could not hold anybody responsible for patent infringement because their right had expired at that time. And we now got different people coming up with different names of biros because it has expired. But what happened next? We noticed that Bic came up with a different ballpoint pen that now has different colors. When you press one, you see red. Press the other, you see blue. Press the other, you see green. Anybody use that pen? Did anybody use that pen?
Yes, I
I
did.
yes,
You did? Okay, that's good.
I did
So
use very. I saw a friend of mine use it.
okay,
I was
so
aware
remember
of
that
it.
when big patent on the single pen expired, what did they do? They tried to improve on that old invention and come up with a different invention that has like 5-in-1 vessels whereby ink is flowing through it. So instead of you buying 5 different pen, all you need to buy is just one that has different color, and all you have to do is just what? Change the colors, and that's it. So when your patent is about to expire, as an inventor, you need to look at how else can you improve on it such that you're able to apply for another patent. I hope that explains your question. Is that Kristen?
Yes, ma, it did.
Okay, so let's look at patentable subject matter. When I say patentable subject matter, it means subject matter that can be patentable. For example, you want to file a patent application for ballpoint pen. The title of the application could be a writing material or a device for writing. But when your patent application starts sounding like how to trap oxygen in the air, or maybe it starts sounding like how to kill somebody, a subject matter like that might not pass for patent application. Now, this is based on jurisdiction, and I remember Rakesh also said that patentable subject matter is based on jurisdiction. Say, for example, in Nigeria, we do not patent what's it called, plants and animal. And that is why you would see that the Nigerian Act for plant variety does not call it plant patent because we do not patent plants and animals, right? So we had to come up with a different body that protects plant, which we call plant variety rights, but not plant patent. But if you look at other jurisdictions like the US, what they have is plant patent because their own jurisdiction protects something like that. I'm not so sure what the Indian law says, but I think Rakesh can help with that. So patentable subject matter is based on jurisdiction. So what might apply, what might be patentable in Nigeria might not be patentable in other jurisdiction and vice versa. So any useful product, process, method, equipment, composition can be patented. And non-patentable subject matter, abstract ideas, inventions contrary to morality, scientific theories or mathematical method, discoveries, method of treatment for humans or animals, they are not patentable. Now, this is under the Nigerian law. Let's take note of that. So patentability of invention, I think Rakesh has done justice to this. We have 3 criteria. We have novelty, which is also called newness or new. We have inventiveness, which is also called non-obviousness. And we have industrial applicability, of which in some jurisdiction, it is called utility. Now, I know we are still going to have presentation from the participants, and I think I've gone through the material whereby they use utility as industrial applicability. Now, depending on your jurisdiction where you are, you should try to use the language they use in that jurisdiction. So in Nigeria, we call it industrial applicability, and in some countries as well. I think it's US that uses utility. So you want to be very careful when using technicalities and names. So novelty, when it comes to patents, novelty is absolute, just like we've all agreed, and it means the invention has to be new around the world, and it should not have any features found in a single prior act reference. So this is patentability of invention. We have the inventiveness, that is, it is not deducible by someone with average knowledge of the technical field. We call it posita, person skilled in the act. So we also have industrial applicability. That is, the invention must be of practical use. So I think I'm going to stop here. Then we can have these other aspects in the next class. Thank you so much, Dennis. Over to you. If you have questions, yes, we can take questions too.
All right, thank you so much, Mrs. Shukurat, for such a very wonderful and detailed presentation. Mr. Rakesh is saying that he has to drop off for another call. Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation and for your detailed insights which you shared with us. We really, really do appreciate. We really do appreciate every thought you shared, and we look forward to also seeing you in the other sessions, sir. So to continue with what we have planned out for today, we'll be taking presentations from mentees. All right, so we expect mentees to make a 10 minutes presentation based off of the work we gave you prior to this class. So um, group presenter for this particular class, please, you can kindly share your slides and start your presentation. Please remember you have 10 minutes, so try as much as possible to stick to time. Who is presenting for the class? Who will be presenting for the class? Do we have our group presenter in session today? Can we all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we
Hi.
can, Dennis.
Oh, okay. So for the presentation, if the group presenter is not available, anybody from the team can actually do so. I can help share your slides, right, so that you can make your presentation. We normally do this as part of our class so that we can also assess how much you guys have learned during the course of your research. So please, if we have someone to step in, you can kindly help do that. We would do well to share your slides so that you can we can continue with the session. Okay, who do we have stepping in for the group?
Good, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm actually the backward presenter, and I'll be stepping in for the person that was assigned to make the presentation. I thought the main presenter was stepping in, I guess we just have to go ahead with it. Thank you. So, with your permission, I'm going to share my screen so that we can proceed.
All right, please do that.
All right, let me confirm if you guys can see it.
Yes, we can see
So,
your screen on your
thank you very
slides.
much. Okay, so we are the group members of the patent drafting course, courtesy of the JIIPCC Academy, and we're to make a presentation on patent drafting for beginners in a way that a layman will understand the concept of patent drafting at a go. So the purpose of this presentation is to give you a clear picture on what patent drafting is all about, more like an overview or a beginner's level kind of presentation on the concept of patent drafting. As we all know, patent is a form of intellectual property. It grants the exclusive right for an invention to an inventor. That means if someone has an invention, he or she can apply for patent, and that patent gives the person the right to produce, to own, manufacture, and of course commercialize that invention exclusively, okay, to the exclusion of others. Now, the one thing I was able to understand about patents is that it's kind of like it's an exchange. When someone signs up for patent, that person is giving the government knowledge on that invention, knowledge behind that invention in exchange for exclusive ownership. That means, in the grand scheme of things, when someone has an invention that is groundbreaking, yeah, that person must have the knowledge behind that invention, the source of that invention, or the materials, or the source upon which that invention was created, so that he can give it to the public to understand it, to visualize that invention, and in exchange, the government or society gives that person ownership on that invention. So that means, as if we were to go down history, we know that this person was the brains or the inventor behind so and so. It's just like we have Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb. So today now we all, and thanks to his work now, we see that we can recreate the light bulb, we can reproduce the light bulb because we have an understanding. Someone in the field has an understanding on how the light bulb was made. And down the lines of history, we'll all know that the original creator, whoever brought up the idea and created or invented the light bulb, was Thomas Edison. So I believe that's what went down. So in simple terms, it is the legal protection given by a government authority in exchange for the public disclosure of the technical details of a groundbreaking invention, which helps to foster innovation. Now, we also need to understand that patents has legal requirements. There are ingredients to a patent before the law can really recognize it as something that can be enforced and something that can be protected. It's just like we have ingredients of an enforceable contract. We also have the requirements for an enforceable patent. First one is novelty, non-obviousness, and utility. Novelty means that, I believe, just as the speakers have described for us, that invention must be new or an improvement to an existing invention. That means it must be groundbreaking, it must be innovative, it must be something that no one has thought of before. I would like to relate it to copyright as well, because I think, to our own understanding, copyright has its own ingredient as well, its own legal requirements, and one of such is that it must be novel as well. It must be, what you are creating must be new. The same thing applies with patents as well. So it must be new and must be an improvement to an existing invention, not known to the public before the application for that patent. And that's a very clear requirement for patent. The next one is the non-obviousness, which means that the invention must not be obvious to someone with ordinary skills in the field. What this means is, okay, I'll give an example. Imagine I take my Android phone and I said that I'm going to reinvent this Android phone with a much, let's say, because old people cannot see their screen clearly. So I'm going to, make the screen bigger. I'm going to let's just make bigger screens. Let's make bigger screens so that old people can properly, people can properly use their devices. Now that is too obvious an invention, too obvious an innovation for any device. Okay, so what I'm bringing to the table must be non-obvious. That means someone that is in the field with the proper skills in the field of that invention must be able to learn something new out of what I've invented, must be able to learn and innovate out of what I've invented so that it's not going to sound way too obvious. Now, normally, if it was to be a non-obvious innovation that I'm bringing to our devices, like phones, that innovation would be, let's say, I'm inventing a phone that can project holographic images. I am inventing a phone that can project 3D holographic images for the way we see it in all these science fiction movies where people can access their phones on an holographic, what's it called? On an holographic perspective, yeah. So that sounds, it's not too obvious. And someone who has ordinary skills in tech can be able to replicate and recreate that to further innovate my invention. And finally, utility. It must be useful, it must be applicable, it must be practical, it must be realistic, it must be something that will really help society. Now, moving on, we have examples of patents from utility to the design and the plans patent. Utility patents are the most common type, designed to protect new and useful innovations. I would say an example would be the scissors. Yeah, the scissors, as we all know, the scissors is kind of like a pair of scissors now. It's something we can use to, cut things, and that borders on utility, that borders on its use. That's where utility patents comes in. Now, design patents focus on the ornamental design of a functional item and are intended to protect an item's unique visual characteristics. Let's say the shape of a bottle, the shape of Coca-Cola bottle, for example, or a cup holder. For example, a cup holder must have the proper shape and proper size to hold any cup. That's one example I can give it. And finally, plant patents, which are granted to individuals who invent, discover a sexually a sexual plant and so on like that. One example we can give this is GMOs, genetically modified organisms, where today now we have in Nigeria now we have foods, we have plants, we have fruits that are in circulation that were developed out of genetic cells. They were not plants from the soil, but they were manufactured in a lab. So plant patents protect that form of patents. Now, examples of patentable inventions are technological innovations, medical devices, like the stethoscope. The stethoscope is a good example of a medical device that can be patented. Chemical compounds, drugs, mechanical devices, and so on like that. Please, it's raining where I am right now, so I'm going to raise my voice a bit. But before I proceed, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
And you can see my screen properly?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Now, what cannot be patented? Abstract ideas. It's just like how we have copyrights, where the idea and expression dichotomy comes in, where ideas cannot be copyrighted, but the expression of the idea is what gets the protection. So the fact that you have an idea, an abstract idea based in your head, if someone else had already, applied for patent on that same idea, that person will have a much higher claim because you have not expressed it. It's not expressed, it is abstract, it still dwells in your mind. And so same thing applies with patents as well. Mathematical formulas, algorithms without practical application or purely theoretical concepts cannot be patented, and natural phenomena such as gravity and natural laws. Sometimes I ask myself, how did guys like Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton get so famous? I thought their discoveries could be patented, but of course it's a naturally occurring phenomenon, and you can't apply for patents on such. Then human perception, arts, music, and so on patents have nothing to do with that. And inventions contrary to public policy. So things that are for committing crimes and so on like that. Now, questions like the gun itself, questions might rise as to whether or not a gun can, because then now we know what the gun has been used for. Now, does that mean that guns can be patented, yes or no? I would like to believe that it borders on the intention, on what the intention of the person that created guns. Or because obviously we know that guns have gone against public policy today, it's a weapon, but at the same time, guns have its advantageous uses as well. So I believe it depends on the intention of whoever created it. It's not really borders on the we look at the mind of whoever invented the invention. If, of course, it can procure criminal acts and so on like that, that was not the intention of the whoever invented it. That is why guns can be patented, in my own opinion. You can apply for patents on guns. Then finally, the importance goes from the competitive advantage. Investors are more likely to um, appropriate themselves, associate themselves with products and inventions that have protection from patent, economic growth, um, societies and governments that encourage their inventors and innovators to apply for patents. It builds up the economy, it improves the economy, and puts things in the bright shape for the economy. Now, encouragement of innovation encourages people to build more, because once you have that legal protection of your work, you are encouraged to innovate and attracting of investors and legal protection. And now, conclusively, we're made to understand that patents is a form of intellectual property. It is the tangible aspect. I like things, the tangible aspect of IP. Normally, IP stands to protect intangible assets, but I would like to say that when you think of tangible and touchable, materials that you can feel, see, and comprehend, concepts like patents, um, industrial designs, geographic indications, plant varieties, and so on like that. They protect the tangible aspect of properties that we can see and feel. Aside, in contrast to copyright, yes, and no. So for me to understand that it's not everything that we can apply for patents. It's not every invention that can be patentable. So far as it's something that is new, something that is novel, something that has applicability in our society, and something that is not an obvious solution to problems in our society. And with this, I hope that we have a clear picture on what patents is. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Adams, for such a wonderful presentation from your end. Well done to you and your team for putting the presentation together. We hope that you people continue with this energy and you are able to keep up in subsequent weeks. So we'll be handing over back to Ms. Amosa for her comments on your presentations and the work you people have done so far, so that she can give maybe a better clarity or perspective to places where there are some misconceptions or misunderstanding in the work that you people have done. So Ms. Shukurat will be handing over back to you. Thank you so much, ma, for the presentation once again.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Can you keep the slides on? Kindly share the slide again so we can speak to the slide. So that said, congratulations to the group. You've done a good job. It's very straightforward and it's quite legible. However, initially there was a kind of holdback when you were supposed to present. And I don't know, maybe people are shy or they don't want to like we are all here to learn. So even if the group leader is not available to present, somebody in the group should be bold enough to present, because they say, what's it called now? I don't know, excuse my mind, but you have, okay, practice makes perfect, right? You might be in a different room one day and you are left with no other option than for you to present. But if you've been presenting in close-knitted classes like this, then you won't be fidgeting when it comes to you presenting in a bigger room. When it comes to presenting in a bigger room. So it's always important to try as much as possible. And I think what the group can do is try to rotate presenters. I'll tell you a story. Most people don't know that I used to be a JIIPCC mentee back then, you know. Even though we already had or we're already IP experts, but you know, sometimes when you want to belong in a community, you also want to know what the community is doing right, so that you don't end up being in a community whereby they are doing something that doesn't go with your goal. So I used to be a JIPC mentee back then. And so what I would advise is every week you kind of rotate who the presenter is. So at a point, everybody in the group gets to present. That way you also build yourself when it comes to presentation and speaking publicly. That said, thank you, Adams, for your presentation. You've done well. I think the only places we need to touch on, which I already mentioned initially, and for some reason I expected you to probably correct yourself when you got there, but you didn't. It is with respect to, I think, go to slide 2, Dennis. With respect to utility, I mentioned earlier that whenever you're talking about intellectual property, not even just patent, you have to use the terminologies that is used within the context of that jurisdiction. So if you go online now, you are not likely to see, when it comes to types of patent, we actually do not have types of patent in Nigeria. When you want to talk about patent, the only thing you will see closely to patent is a utility model, of which utility model is more like a smaller patent, such that those patent applications that don't have inventiveness, or those patent applications that are not inventive enough, instead of the registry sending them back and saying, oh, your invention is not patentable, they try and box them under utility model. It's called utility model, and it's a smaller patent, and it lasts for about 7 to 10 years, of which we now have the main patent that lasts for 20 years. So when it comes to patents in Nigeria, we have things such as utility model, which we call a smaller patent. And in some instance, we have something called the business method, although the business method is not very much talked about because we don't have it yet in our Patent Act. But one way or the other, it has been signed by the, what do you call them now? I can't remember what you call them, but Business Act is something, business model is something we can say is under patent, but we don't have types of patent. Now, what you've done here is you adapting the US format. In the US, they have types of patent, and under their types of patent, they have utility patent. Now, utility patent is what we call normal patent. Design patent is what we'll call industrial design. And their plant patent is what we call plant variety rights. So like I said, based on jurisdiction, you want to know the right terminology to use. When you say utility patent in Nigeria, people are like, utility patent. They might even ask you, are you trying to say utility model? Because we don't have utility patent. Our patent is patent. It's not utility, it's just patent. Then when you now talk about a other alternative to patent, you can now look at business model or utility model. But when it comes to design, that's why what we have is patent and design registry. The patent registry handles patent. The design registry handles industrial design. It is not called design patent. So you want to be very sure of the terminologies you are using, depending on the jurisdiction. And like I said, when it comes to patentable subject matter, the Nigerian Patent Act does not protect plants and animals. And that is why we can't call, or we don't have a patent that protects plants. So what we have is the plant variety right under the Nigerian Plant Variety Protection Office, which is under the National Seed Association Council. So we have to be able to, put those things in place. So that's one correction. And the second correction is under the patentability criteria. If you can look at that, Dennis. Criteria for patentability. I think it's the 5th slide thereabout. Yes, there's utility. So like I said, utility, we don't really, you see, non-obviousness and utility is not what we really call it. Non-obviousness can still pass, or you call it inventiveness. So basically in Nigeria, we majorly use inventiveness, but non-obviousness is also acceptable. But you are hardly going to see utility. Instead, you are going to see industrial applicability. Okay, so industrial applicability or industrial application is what we mostly call it, not utility. So I think those are just the two corrections I have so far. Thank you for the presentation. I will have questions. Let's take questions. Thank you, Dennis.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Shukurat, for those corrections. I do hope that the mentees were paying attention to everything that you said, everything that you said while making those corrections. Please take notes to do well to take notes during class, right? It is important that you do so that you can keep in mind and keep in record the very things that you hear in class. And also remember that this class is being streamed online. Do well to revisit the class if you still want to get more in terms of value from what you are hearing in this session. So we'll be taking questions right about now. So please, if you have a question for Ms. Shukurat that you would like to ask, please do not hesitate to do that right about now so that we can move on. So please, if you have a question, do well to ask. Do we have questions? You can raise your hand, you can send your questions into the chat box, but do well to indicate if you have a question. I expect to see hands. I expect to also see questions in the chat box. So please, let's make sure to ask as many questions as we can. Okay, so we don't have any questions. Is that what we are saying? Okay. All right, if there are no questions, well, I think today has been, if we don't have any questions, I think today has been a very, very interesting, we've had a very, very interesting discourse in today's class. And, our mentors have been able to highlight several very important key factors as it relates to patent drafting. This is the introductory class. Okay, Ms. Shukurat, I see you raising your hand. Please, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think since we don't have questions, I'm going to ask a question. So what is the difference between patent and utility model? Anybody? The difference between patent and utility model?
Okay, from your explanation, you said generally if an invention does not satisfy the full legal requirements for patentability in Nigeria, instead of dismissing it entirely, it will be registered under a utility model and it will last for a period of 7 to 10 years, I think. But if the invention meets the legal requirements for patentability,
it will be registered, it will be the inventor will be given a patent in Nigeria.
So there's one particular thing missing. Who wants to help Chidima? There's a particular thing missing because even utility model has its own criteria. It's just that the criteria is not as stringent as patent. So what is that missing criteria that we can still overlook in utility model, but cannot be overlooked when it comes to patent?
Okay, let me give it a try.
Okay.
Okay, so for utility model, it may not necessarily be inventive, but it must serve some useful value. Like it must be useful to the general public, but it may not necessarily be inventive.
Thank you, Christian. So for utility model, the novelty and industrial applicability remains, but inventiveness is overlooked. Okay. So when you have a utility model, let's say you've come up with maybe an invention and that invention is new and is industrially applicable, but it doesn't have inventiveness. You can decide to file a utility model for that particular invention. Then on the long run, maybe later in future, after you've been able to ascertain the inventive aspect of that invention, you can now decide to file that invention as a patent. Do you get that now? So that's the major difference between utility model and patent. So I think that's all from my side, Dennis.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Shukurat. I think to an extent it shows that the mentees in today's session were listening, and I do hope that we continue with this practice of listening and paying attention during class. So just before we call it a close to today's session, please can we kindly do well to turn on our videos so that we can take a quick screenshot for posting purposes and also to indicate also that we were in today's session. So please kindly turn on your videos so that we can take a quick screenshots. Thank you, Ms. Shukurat. It's nice seeing you again, ma.
My face fine today. It's been a while, right? Okay. So let me just excuse the background.
We're taking the pictures very soon.
All right.
All right, we are done.
All right. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you very much, ma. And with this, we come to the end of today's session. I'm very excited that we're able to stay to the very end. For those of us that did, a big thank you to Mr. Rakesh in absentia. He has been a mentor with us for quite a while, and it has always been nice and interesting hearing from him and his discourse. A big thank you to Ms. Shukura. She's always available when we call on her to help us do due diligence to patent drafting. I'm sure we have learned so much. Please, when we are done with today's class, do not forget to share what you have learned on your different social media platforms. And also do not forget to tag our mentors. I will send their profiles or their pictures, their profiles that we read to your group so that you can search for them on LinkedIn. Ms. Shukrat is very, very active on LinkedIn. Please, you can tag her, right, and show that you actually did learn from her in today's session. And with that, do not forget to also fill in your attendance for today's session. Do not forget to fill in your attendance for today's session. We come to the end of today's class. See you all in the next class. When the task is assigned, please let's do well to contribute our fair quota. Let's try to work as a team so that everyone is carried along and eventually we're all learning as a group. Thank you everyone and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Dennis. Bye.
Bye bye.